Anika Nagavara, and I did this project as a sophomore at Monte Vista High School, and it's called The Effect of Different Amounts of Zinc on Asthma in Drosophila melanogaster. According to the CDC, 1 in 13 people have asthma, and more than 11.4 million people reported having an asthma attack in 2019. 1 in 10 Americans also die each day from asthma, which shows that a very significant amount of the population has poorly controlled asthma. Asthma is caused when the airways in the lungs become swollen and inflamed. This is caused when certain triggers cause histamine release in mast cells, which causes airway inflammation. Epithelial cells, which are found in the airways, also play an important role in airway inflammation. Unregulated epithelial innate immunity is a major cause for the development of chronic inflammatory diseases such as asthma. Epithelial tissue in the airway can become inflamed during an asthmatic reaction through the release of inflammatory mediators, which cause an inflammatory response. The three main different types of asthma are exercise-induced asthma, allergy-induced asthma, and occupational asthma. My experiment mainly focuses on occupational asthma, which is caused by chemicals which are found in workplaces such as factories. My experiment uses a chemical called dimethyl sulfoxide, which is a chemical found in the air in many factories, which causes occupational asthma. I used Drosophila melanogaster as my model organism because its respiratory system consists of a tracheal system, which is heavily lined with epithelial tissue as shown in this picture. I wanted to see if there was a correlation between zinc deficiency and a worse asthmatic reaction, and if zinc supplements could result in a better controlled asthmatic reaction. I was curious about this correlation because in humans, zinc is an important antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent. Physiological concentrations of zinc inhibit the release of histamine from basophils and lung mast cells, so I wanted to see if it could result in better asthma control. I tested for better asthma control by looking at the difference in physical capacity of Drosophila that were given zinc. My hypothesis was that if zinc was added to a Drosophila melanogaster's diet, it would result in the Drosophila being able to crawl a given distance in less time because it will result in less inflammation of the epithelial cells in their airway. And since there is less restriction in their airway, it will result in more physical activity, which should result in the Drosophila being able to crawl a given distance in less time. I added 2 different amounts of zinc, 0.1 grams and 0.2 grams, to the different vials of Drosophila food media and left the control vial with no additives. Then I pipetted dimethyl sulfoxide in the concentration of 5.1 times 10 to the power of -8 moles into the vial plugs of each vial. This concentration was calculated based on the legal limit of this chemical in factories. Then after 4 days, I recorded the time it took for each Drosophila to crawl up the side of the vial. My results were that the control group showed the slowest times for each trial. I used an ANOVA test to analyze my data, and my data was statistically significant when the control and the group that was fed 0.1 grams of zinc were compared, and when the control and the group that was fed 0.2 grams of zinc were compared. But my data was not statistically significant when the groups that were fed 0.1 grams and 0.2 grams of zinc were compared. In conclusion, zinc does appear to mitigate the effect of dimethyl sulfoxide on airway inflammation and physical activity, so my hypothesis was correct. It can be concluded that zinc deficiency can cause a worse asthmatic reaction and that zinc supplements can be a viable treatment for a better controlled asthmatic reaction. However, since the effect of zinc on the Drosophila was the same when the dosage of zinc was increased, additional experiments will need to be performed in order to be sure of this connection. Some further experimentation that I would like to conduct is observing the effect of zinc in more quantities and larger quantities so that I can be sure of this connection. And also directly observing the effect of zinc on human airway inflammation rather than looking at it through physical activity. Also, I would like to see if a human with zinc deficiency and asthma has a worse asthmatic reaction than someone without zinc deficiency and only asthma. And I would also like to observe the effect of zinc in different types of asthma, like exercise-induced asthma and allergy-induced asthma.